Hey guys, so I am back and it's kind of interesting. I was just looking at my reference picture and what I've done here, and I'm liking her so far. But it's funny, I totally like emphasize that angle like much stronger in my piece, but I'm okay with that, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm now using some of the, I love seeing the values in black and white, but this is actually a little bit more high contrast in the color. So I'm gonna be using the color one as a reference too to really push these values. I really need to get the values right on the nose to be able to communicate what the nose is doing. So I need to work on that. Really put it in the right value situation before I even add details to it. So yeah, I'm just going to keep visiting areas and adjusting the values, pushing them where I need to, erasing where I need to, and just keep moving. And I always think you're better off putting more tone down and then taking away than being too hesitant with how you put the tone down or the shade, the values down. Because I can cut in here with my eraser and, you know, carve out the lights around the mouth. And that way I'm not using too much line and it's going to look softer ultimately. And like with her teeth, I'm probably just going to go in here and take away a little bit of the tone to suggest the teeth, but it's going to be subtle. Because again, if you look at her teeth in this image, I mean, you can barely see them. The value difference from the inside of her mouth to her teeth is pretty minor. So just remember, you don't want those teeth to be super white because they'll look really strange. So I can take some away and then soften it. You definitely want to watch the value shift under the chin. It's like a huge thing that, you know, if you leave it out or if you have the value too light, it doesn't look like your face is on a neck. See how that pushes the face forward? That's what you definitely want. Her hair kind of starts to come in here. If you need to go into an area and you don't want to, you know, have your hand dragged over it, just go ahead and put a piece of paper down. And that's a really great way to kind of create a bridge for your hand. And that way you don't, you know, mess up what you've already done. And then, of course, one of the really fun things when you get there is to add the lights into the eyes with a white charcoal pencil and really emphasize that. It's always fun. When you add a light into the eyes, you want to make sure that you add it, you know, in the same place on the pupil. If you add, like, let's say I did the light there and then I added it over here, it's going to make the eyes look like they're looking in two different directions. So be aware of that as well. Just adding in some lash detail. You want to look at the lashes and make sure you're not doing them too, like, regular. Because if you look at our lashes, they tend to do lots of little different things that come out at different angles. And I find this process, I mean, once you get past that resistance, it's so relaxing and fun. And yeah, I mean, it can get frustrating at times, but as you start to develop the face and really pay attention to different areas, I find it really meditative. It's a great time to listen to music and kind of let yourself get into that flow. So just like I did with the eyes, I'm squinting a little bit and trying to map out where the lights are on the nose. And I can go and do the same thing with the white pencil and go back through and see where else light's hitting and just start to shade that in. And then I always think it's interesting some of the light that happens in the nose, places that you wouldn't think there's light, there's often reflected light, like up into the nostril a little bit. I think it's fun to capture that. And then of course up on the forehead. And look for shadows in the eye, because obviously you've got to remember those are, your eyeballs are round and they're in there, and so as they turn away from the light, they go into shadow. You know, a lot of times it's a common mistake where people make the white of the eyes kind of all the same value, but if you take something round and you put it, you know, into space, it's going to have shadows, right? And it's an orb. It's not a flat, you know, shape. So, and again, this is why it's so helpful when you work from photo references. You get to observe these things. I'm using a really light touch with my pencil, so keep that in mind if you're using a charcoal pencil. You don't need to press hard to get some value down. And, you know, as I've mentioned, it's better to build up than to have a really dark line that you can't manipulate. There's always a lovely shadow underneath the lips. That's really nice to capture. It pushes that bottom lip out. If you don't get that value, your lips will look kind of flat. And if you guys haven't taken pencil to paper, that is a great class to kind of go along with a little bit of this portrait, this process of kind of sensitive drawing, where you're really paying attention to the nuances, sort of meditative drawing. So if you haven't checked out that class, I recommend checking it out. Now I'm kind of starting to see like where I see some negative shapes between the blooms and her hair. I'm just going to start to delineate some of those areas. And I can always, you know, erase parts too to get I'm going to keep my flowers, as I mentioned, kind of loose. I'm not interested in having them be super hyper realistic. I think I would just drive myself insane doing that, but if that's your thing, go for it. You know, I gotta say, ever since I did my klimt class, gilded brush, I'm finding myself more and more interested in shapes and patterns and how things work together than I ever have been before, which is kind of fun. I'm very much enjoying that. Some compressed charcoal now and Darkening up that area underneath the chin. You guys know me, I love doing hair. Ever since my klimt class too, I feel like that's even gotten stronger for me. So I will probably do some pretty graphic things with the hair. So the way I'm getting these loose light lines, I'm holding the pencil way back on the end here and just kind of allowing things to flow. Okay guys, so I'm just took a little break there. I'm back. I'm gonna keep working on our girl. Start to draw in some of the flowers. So now I'm kind of creating some darker negative spaces or shapes to create more visual interest pattern. And I'm kind of making it up as I go. I'm not using this as a loose guide, but I'm more interested in how the lights and darks, the shapes kind of are interacting. I'm not super concerned about getting it just like the picture at this point. I could even block in some of the darker shapes just with my little stocking thing here. And then I can go back in with the eraser and pull out the petal shapes. It's a little more fun to do it that way. Sometimes I like to use a little piece of sandpaper and then just to go ahead and rub your charcoal right on there, and it'll create some dust that you can actually kind of dip your little stocking thing into and create some more darkness. Really get some value down pretty quickly. Yeah, I'm creating quite a lot of shape here, a lot of mass, and then I'll be able to carve stuff out with my eraser instead of trying to, you know, draw all the hair. I can come back in with my pencil and create some of those linear details that I love so much. And then you can always take your eraser and start to carve out some highlights.